All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to set the stage for a pretty intense psychological journey today. We're looking at a place that universally is supposed to represent learning, growth, and above all else, safety, right? School. But what actually happens when that exact same environment morphs into a literal threat to a student's survival? Today, we're exploring the deep science of school avoidance and looking at what is really unfolding inside the brain when a student just simply cannot walk through those doors.
Imagine, just for a second, dropping directly into the anxious mind of a 15-year-old kid named Noah. His internal monologue is literally screaming at him, "Don't go, stay safe, something bad will happen." Now, you might be thinking this is just a teenager acting out, but it's not defiance. This is a desperate, overwhelming plea to stay away from a building he used to just stroll into without a second thought. Try to imagine the immense weight of waking up every single morning and having that exact loop playing on repeat in your head. So why is his brain telling him this?
Act 1. When fear begins, the invisible descent.
To really get why Noah is so paralyzed, we've got to rewind a bit. Picture a seemingly normal morning that suddenly shatters into this sensory overload of emotional pain. It starts in the morning, Noah answers a question wrong, and the entire class laughs at him. By midday, a teacher publicly and pretty harshly criticizes him in front of everyone. In the afternoon, he gets back a failed exam just bleeding with red ink. And finally, at dismissal, whispered bullying trails right behind him down the hallway. It's not just one bad day. It's a relentless stacking of trauma. Repeated experiences of humiliation, perfectionistic pressure, and social anxiety are piling up on him brick by heavy brick over time.
Because of all this, his environment quickly turns into an absolute nightmare. Inside his head, he starts hearing this distorted, echoing laughter, overlapping voices telling him he's wrong, or asking, "Why are you so slow?" And this triggers a highly visceral, physical onset of panic. His breathing changes rapidly. It gets heavy. His hands actually start to tremble. You see, his body is physically reacting to an environment that it now equates with profound, immediate danger.
Act 2. The brain learns danger. Under the hood.
Okay, so let's pivot away from Noah's trembling hands for a second and look at the hard neuroscience of what's actually happening inside his head. It all boils down to this concept, fear conditioning. It's the process where the brain learns from repeated emotional pain and eventually associates a previously totally neutral environment with a massive threat to survival. So Noah isn't just upset. He's not throwing a tantrum. His nervous system has been literally, biologically rewired to perceive that school building the exact same way you or I would perceive a burning building or a wild predator.
Let's map this out on the brain. It's kind of like a giant puzzle. We've got three main players forming what we call the survival circuit. First, the amygdala, which is basically the brain's alarm bell, slaps a massive danger tag on the whole concept of school. Second, the hippocampus acts like a filing cabinet, permanently storing all those painful memories of the laughter, the red ink, the bullying. Finally, the prefrontal cortex, the logical, rational, decision-making part of the brain, is basically just knocked offline entirely. It loses its ability to regulate under that kind of stress. His logic is completely hijacked, and it pushes Noah into pure, unadulterated survival mode. And when that brain alarm system goes off, man, it is a violent neurochemical rush flooding his entire system. We are talking a massive cortisol spike, a sudden adrenaline surge, and full sympathetic nervous system activation. This is the classic fight or flight response kicking into high gear, which makes the perceived threat feel incredibly real, immediate, and just entirely overwhelming for him.
Act 2B, triggers everywhere, the generalization of fear. So this builds into an inescapable trap as his fear starts to generalize. And here's the really tragic part. Completely neutral, everyday cues are now perceived by his nervous system as imminent, terrifying threats. Because that fear conditioning we just talked about, a simple homework notification buzzing on his phone sends adrenaline coursing through his veins. Literally just looking at a school uniform, hearing a bell ring, or standing in front of a classroom door, these aren't mundane objects to him anymore. They are absolute tripwires for panic.
Act 3A. The trap of avoidance. The climax of tension.
All of this tension peaks the very next morning. His mom calls out from downstairs, "Time for school." And Noah is just left sweating, heart racing, whispering, "I can't." You have to see the massive disconnect happening here. To the outside world, to his mom and his teachers, this totally looks like defiance or stubbornness or maybe even laziness. But in his inside world, neurologically, his brain is in full survival mode. He is physically frozen. He isn't choosing not to go. His biology is literally preventing him.
To really grasp why this avoidance is so incredibly tough to break, we need to listen to the experts. A school psychologist we brought in put it perfectly. They said, Avoidance reduces fear temporarily, but it teaches the brain that escape equals safety. This is the ultimate paradox right here. By staying home, Noah feels way better in the short term, but he is accidentally making the long-term problem much, much worse.
And this dynamic creates what we call the fear loop. It's basically a 5-step trap. Step 1, he encounters a trigger, like just seeing his backpack by the door. Step 2, anxiety spikes. That's that physiological panic we described earlier. Step 3, avoidance. He straight up refuses to go to school. Step 4, he gets temporary relief because his anxiety drops while he's safe at home. But then comes Step 5, stronger fear. His brain learns a definitive lesson. Hey, the only reason we survived today is because we avoided school. Therefore, school must be incredibly dangerous. By staying home, Noah accidentally locks in that fear conditioning for tomorrow.
Act 3B, rebuilding safety, the path to recovery.
So, how in the world do we break this cycle? Well, we have to completely shift the environment from cold panic to warm safety, focusing purely on how we gently guide a student back. Recovery begins not with force, not with punishments or dragging a crying kid into the car. No, it begins with specific interventions designed to slowly convince the brain that the threat has passed. We start with deep emotional validation, really acknowledging that this fear is 100% real to him. Then, gradual, gentle exposure. We use something called nervous system co-regulation, which basically means calm adults projecting calm energy to soothe his panic system. We focus on building a safe teacher relationship and establishing highly predictable routines. It's all about slowly, carefully unwinding that tangled survival circuit. And eventually, with enough time and care, we reach the return. Picture Noah approaching the school gates again. He's stepping into the warm sunlight. Now, he's still anxious. Actually, let's be real, recovery isn't just an overnight magic trick. But this time, he's supported by an environment that prioritizes his emotional security way over his academic pressure. He's met with a gentle teacher greeting. No pressure, no shame, just safety, and a whole lot of hope. This entire journey really forces us to flip our whole paradigm upside down. If you take anything away from this explainer today, let it be this exact shift in perspective. The real question is absolutely not the behavioral one. Why won't the student come to school? The real question, the one that leads to actual, lasting healing, is when did school start feeling dangerous? Because when we finally ask the right question, we can truly begin to understand the root of the trauma. I want to leave you with one final, incredibly powerful takeaway. Keep this in mind the next time you see a student, a child, or honestly even a peer struggling to walk through those doors or face a daunting task. Avoidance is often not defiance, it is the nervous system trying to survive. So here's a provocative thought to leave you with. In our relentless everyday pursuit of academic and professional success, how many everyday environments have we accidentally turned into survival circuits? And more importantly, what can you do tomorrow to make those spaces feel safe again?